That's all right, brother. We're not that strict, Mr. Gill. We're not ready. John, he's had a prior commitment.
Okay.
We'll call this meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. For the Romantics, we have postponed this meeting, recessed this meeting until 21st, which will be next Tuesday night. But as a matter of courtesy, if someone came here with the intention of making a public comment, the floor is yours. You missed an opportunity, Oriel.
I have kittens for sale if anybody's interested in contacting.
I have free ones. No public comment? No.
Yeah, my name is Jerry. I know most of you. I was just quizzing Mr. Shields about the new assessments that we all received this week. And I'm sure that all of us are quite pleased with the new assessment, if not surprised. And I'm just trusting that the you group of guys will, give a thorough explanation as to what's going to be done to the millage rate with regard to that. And Gary had already shared with me that, a lot of us don't understand the logistical things that have to happen to issue the final assessment, so to speak. But, I hope that'll be addressed in this next meeting so there's a thorough understanding not only of the attendees, but also by the advertising of the paper as to what what's going to happen with the millage rate or what potentially can happen to the millage rate. Don't leave us hanging because as it was noted, there was a 50% increase over the last assessment. That's huge. And I remember from back when the real estate market was in the doldrums, there wasn't the same adjustment made in our tax assessments that could potentially be made with this. So I hope that that'll spur your memory that, we need to give as much credence as possible to, to reducing the tax millage rate as low as possible. And, again, I don't understand all the process of that. Probably a lot of the people, I'd say the majority of the people in the county don't have no idea about it. Probably a lot of them don't care about it until they get the bill, unfortunately. But, we just want to make sure that, that we're treated fairly with regard to this and that, that there'll be a proper assessment done that we can live with, because if I get hit with a 50% tax bill, I'm going to be Johnny on the spot asking for, some kind of appeal of that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of appeals anyway. So I think that we could save the county a lot of grief if there's more details provided as much as possible. And I know the school might be a later consideration, but as much detail as possible as you guys can come forward with, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
A reasonable request. Anybody want to comment on that? If you'll notice, I got hit with it at church Sunday night. Why'd you raise my taxes? Well, it's not raising your taxes. That's the value of your property. And it across the line was what, 54%?
Yeah, so right around the figures, and I know the tax office is right around 54, 50 to 58%, somewhere in that range. It was high, and like, we went over in the budget presentation, as you mentioned, in the last 2 revaluations. You look back at 2019, I think you had about a 5% decrease in property value from 15 to 19. When you go back to 2015, 2015 was a year where we passed a resolution that took the revaluation cycle in Macon County back to 4 years. In 2007, that was the highest revaluation that I've seen over the past 30 years. There was about a 70% increase in property values in 07, and then we of course know what happened in the years immediately preceding with that recession. And so at that time, values were so bad in 11 when they were supposed to reval, values still remained so depressed they postponed the revaluation until 2015, whenever that one was. And so the adjustment, there was actually an adjustment made in 15, but like you say, this year it's the exact opposite, you know, with the values being high. But the, you know, by statute and a lot of the whole revenue neutral tax rate, it's going to depend. There's still a lot of uncertainty surrounding that with budget uncertainties. The budget, the recommended budget is required to post the revenue neutral tax rate, and that rate is defined as the rate that is required that gives you the amount of revenue in the new year that you would have had in the previous year. So that's the equalizer, if you will, as the chairman alluded to. If that value is going up, then that rate is going to go down to give you, at a revenue neutral level, in theory, the same amount of revenue you had last year. So that's the check on that, if you will. Now, there is some room in that revenue neutral tax rate. You are to calculate a growth factor, and that is the growth in the tax base each year preceding the last revaluation. So from 2019, you look at 19 to 20, 20 to 21, and 20 to 22, but you don't use the factor, you don't use the year of the revaluation. So that 50% increase is not going to be factored in that growth factor. But you will have in the revenue neutral rate some growth calculated in via that growth factor, which again is required by North Carolina general statute to be calculated as part of that. So certainly that rate will be posted in the budget. Of course, that is a quite a while away, and I realize, you know, if you know, the revenue neutral tax rate, if that's something the board you know, would like to see, we can certainly work with tax and finance and see where they're at with determining that.
Well spoken. Raise the value, drop the millage rate to remain neutral. However, there's going to be outliers.
Right.
Average of 55% across the board increase. If you had property, very desirable property, which I don't own any of, thank the good Lord, and it's up 75%, there's going to
That's
be
an increase.
That's an outlier. There's going to be an increase in your taxes. I doubt very few went down. Well, it had to, 55% was the average, so there's some lower than that.
Some
that actually,
lower and some higher.
yeah, I think we're going to, there's going to be some people on the higher end get hit with a tax increase. If your values went down, maybe a little tax decrease. The thing about it, you're worth more money now than you were before you got that bill. And we, as a board, I think, and speaking casually to these guys, we knew that, we've been anticipating this, is we don't want to take any more money out of your pocket.
You gotta die or sell out, forget it.
And you couldn't get what it's praised for today. I mean,
Oh, if you die, your kids are gonna get it. You ain't gonna have kids, the state's gonna decide who gets it.
yeah. I'll give you my mailing address if you want. But anybody else got any comment? Nancy?
Thank you for letting me speak. I've known Mr. Shields for many years. I probably lived here longer than anybody in the room. I know Mr. Antoine from Macon for Progress. When I worked out there, you came and took children. I've known you for many years. I know Josh because our retired school personnel offered you a scholarship when you graduated from high school.
I do recall, yes,
And I know Mr. Sherrill because I taught him. So I know you all. I just want to speak in favor of our library and our education system. I will always support both. I want you to know that not every book in the library is going to please you. It is not meant to. If that library doesn't have something to offend probably all of us, it's not doing its job. So I want you to, I just think it's so important how we use our words and how we come across to sometimes give people permission to be bullies. I know that's not intended, but when you're upset about LGBTQ people or displays about them, somehow that gives other people permission to discriminate. And that happens in the schools. So I just want to support our library always. I want you to support our library staff. They work hard. They do amazing things with the money they have. And of course, I want you to support our public schools. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The late arrivals, we will be recessing this meeting till next Tuesday. And we're open for public comment if anyone wants to address the board. All right, we'll entertain a motion to,
Chairman, real fast, I just want to say thanks for coming out this afternoon, this evening. Thanks for taking the time to show up. I want to say thanks to law enforcement and our attorney.
Notice
Calling any names.
he keeps looking over here.
I'd like to say too, along with what Josh said, thanks to IT. They're here filming this and
Yes.
so appreciate them hanging around too, also.
we will entertain a motion to recess.
Make a motion, recess to February the 21st.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.